Today I'll be covering the physical geography part, and the subtopics are geosynclines, continental drift, isostasy, plate tectonics and volcanism. The first topic, geosyncline. Before we discuss it, we must know certain concepts. The first is geotectonics. Geotectonics deals with Earth's crust as the dynamic system, and this dynamic system is formed as a result of a rather slow process, and this process is divided into three parts. The first part is pre-geosynclinal. So basically there are three parts: pre-geosynclinal, geosynclinal and post-geosynclinal. The oceanic type crust, which is the basaltic layer, and it is formed during the pre-geosynclinal stage. And the continental type crust, which is called as granite metamorphic layer or also the acidic layer, is formed during the geosynclinal stage. The geosynclinal process is the process of formation of granitic metamorphic layer leading to transformation of oceanic crust into a continental crust. This metamorphic process is realized within the geosynclines and is a reflection of the differentiation of matter within Earth's upper mantle, which is called as the asthenosphere. The geosynclinal system is the aggregate of arising and sagging within which the geosynclinal process is realized. This theory deals with the stages of Earth's crust development. The most important principle of these theories are the presence of geosyncline mobility, the inner sources of geosynclinal deposits, large gradients of the deposits of thickness variation, folding, which is also called as orogeny or mountain formation, and increment to continent or the consolidation process. After the important principles of the theory of geosynclinal system, we'll learn about the various theories proposed by various geologists. The first is the major mountain building idea, and it was supported in 19th century. And this fundamental concept of geosynclinal theory was introduced in James Hall's presidential address for the Geological Society of America at the meeting of the American Association for Advancement of Science at Montreal in 1857. His ideas were extravagant at the time, and therefore he was urged in a friendly letter by the Secretary of GSA, Joseph Henry, to introduce it slowly. The principal concept of the theory is that the direction of a given mountain chain corresponds to the original line of greatest sediment accumulation. James Dana helped clarify the theory in his final edition, Manual of Geology 650. Geosynclinal theory can be divided into two main stages. The first is sediment deposition, and following this is an event of the crisis. And this crisis is the mountain making process, and it is a very spontaneous in comparison to the sediment deposition process. Dana described the crustal downwarp area as the geosynclinal region, and the product of the process as the mountain chain synclinorium. He also reinstated that the trend of mountain range follows the deepest part of the geosynclinal trough, and the geosynclines are further classified into biogeosynclines, eugeosynclines and orthogeosynclines, and this classification is on the base of rock strata location and nature of mountain system. I will again repeat the factors dependent on the classification, and these are stratification of rocks or rock strata, location, nature of the mountain system. Now the definition of neogeosyncline is it is formed along the passive margin of a continent and is comprised of sandstones, limestones and shales. And the geosynclines are composed of thick sequence of deep marine sediments, and they are often more deformed and metamorphosed. So what we have seen is in geosynclines, mostly the stones formation, which are sandstone, limestone and shales, are sedimentary rocks. While in geosynclines, the rock formation are mostly of the metamorphosis and hence called as metamorphic rocks. Orthogeosynclines are linear geosynclinal belts and that lie between continental and oceanic terrains. And all the three classification of geosynclines are according to the theory of continental drift. To understand geosyncline further, there is a diagram which explains geosyncline as a mobile zone varied in space and time, and usually it is elongated, and another feature of it is that it is basin like depression along the edge of a continent, and which a thick sequence of sediments and volcanic deposits has accumulated. The various rocks which got deposited in sinking seas forming the elongated mountain like structures, and all the mountains come out of geosynclines. If we see the structure of geosyncline, it is rough structure and mostly formed due to deposition of volcanic deposits and sediments. The geosynclines are classified into four as per the past record according to E. Hogg, and they are Rockies geosynclines, Ural geosynclines, Tethys geosynclines and Circum-Pacific geosynclines. All these four geosynclines has one thing in common, and that is they are first name, for example Rockies is the name of a mountain range, and these geosynclines has led to the formation of mountains. We will see how a geosyncline can get converted into a mountain and what factors are to play in conversion of a geosyncline into the mountain. So the geosyncline theory of mountain formation states that the sediments were squeezed and folded into mountain ranges due to compressive forces. Here the forces are compressive in nature, and the formation of mountains are folded mountains. That the sink of the geosyncline, that it is sinking downwards and it is putting a lot of pressure because of its own gravity downwards. We see depression in which the layers of sediments are deposited. Mostly this depression is near the end of the continent, and there are surrounding highlands. They got eroded. Continuously the depositions happen through the erosion of highlands, and due to the sinking of these deposits, the side wall of the synclines is getting compressional force, and hence because of this compressional force the later structure formed are fold mountains.